Part 1. The Shadow of Strategy. Power isn't found in strength alone. It lies in perception, in the ability to move unseen while shaping the moves of others. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He saw that behind every ruler, general, or thinker who shaped the world, there was not one single kind of mind, but several, each driven by a different hunger for power, each wearing a different mask. The first Machiavellian personality is the strategist. The strategist doesn't dominate by force, but by foresight. They don't enter battles they haven't already won in their mind. They use planning, timing, and silence as weapons sharper than any sword. When others rush, they wait. When others speak, they listen. And when the moment comes, they move, not with noise, but with inevitability. This type thrives in chaos because they see what others can't. They look 5 moves ahead. In social groups, they're the ones who never overreact, who seem detached, yet always end up in control. People trust them because they seem calm. But that calmness is a trap, a design. The strategist knows that emotion gives away leverage, so they never let their true motives surface. The strategist plays long games. They don't chase validation or applause. They prefer power that lasts, the kind that comes from understanding how people think and predicting how they'll fall. In Machiavelli's The Prince, he warned rulers never to rely on chance or favor. The wise prince builds his own foundations of power. The strategist lives by this principle. Everything they do, even kindness, is calibrated for advantage. They are polite but distant, warm but unreadable. Their greatest strength is restraint. They know when not to act. They understand that the absence of motion can create tension more powerful than confrontation. When others show their hand, the strategist folds theirs into silence, because mystery multiplies power. But the dark side of this personality lies in detachment. The strategist risks isolation. They may win wars and lose themselves, building fortresses so tall that no one can reach them. And yet, this is the price of control, a truth Machiavelli accepted without hesitation. Because in the end, the strategist doesn't need to be loved, only feared, only respected. Part 2. The Manipulator's Mask. Where the strategist operates through planning, the second Machiavellian personality thrives through influence. This is the manipulator. If the strategist sees the chessboard, the manipulator moves the pieces. They understand people not as individuals, but as levers, each one driven by ego, desire, or fear. And once they discover which lever to pull, they own the outcome. Machiavelli wrote that men are driven by 2 principal impulses, love and fear. The manipulator studies both, then uses whichever gains them the upper hand. Unlike the strategist, who prefers distance, the manipulator immerses themselves in others' emotions. They mirror them, flatter them, and create the illusion of connection, not out of empathy, but design. To them, kindness is currency, and trust is a tool. In the modern world, the manipulator is often disguised as charm. The coworker who always says the right thing. The friend who knows what you want before you do. The person who never argues directly, but always gets their way. They don't fight for control. They make you hand it over willingly. But there's a reason this type is dark. They understand how fragile human emotion truly is. They know that most people want to feel seen, validated, and special, and so they weaponize that need. To the manipulator, words are weapons, but silence is the kill shot. They know when to flatter and when to withhold it, when to encourage and when to disappear, letting someone chase their approval. They can build loyalty out of illusion, and loyalty, in Machiavelli's world, is the rarest and most powerful form of control. However, their downfall is arrogance. The manipulator often begins to believe in their own performance. They forget that influence is temporary, and that one wrong move can shatter the illusion they built. Still, they remain one of the most dangerous Machiavellian archetypes, because their battlefield is not war or politics, it's the human mind. Every smile hides intent. Every gesture has a reason. Every victory comes with a cost. And the manipulator accepts that cost, because control, to them, is worth the price of truth. Part 3. The Dominator's Presence. If the strategist commands from the shadows, and the manipulator shapes emotions like clay, the third Machiavellian personality wields power through sheer presence. This is the dominator. The dominator is not necessarily loud, nor cruel. but their existence bends the atmosphere around them. When they enter a room, the energy shifts. Conversations soften, eyes turn. It's not charisma in the traditional sense, it's something heavier. A silent authority that demands attention before a word is spoken. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. The dominator embodies this completely. Their power comes from psychological weight, from the understanding that people respect strength more than affection. The dominator doesn't chase approval, they define the terms of it. Their tone, their posture, even their silence communicate command. They rarely explain themselves because they know the need to explain is already a loss of ground. In their world, confidence is not energy, it's gravity. It pulls others toward them or crushes those who resist. This archetype is found in leaders who never raise their voice, yet are always obeyed. In figures who radiate composure under pressure, who never flinch when challenged. They know that the moment you reveal irritation, you give away power. So, they stay still, unervingly still, until others bend first. In modern life, the dominator may be a CEO, a coach, a political figure, or even someone in your circle who commands quiet respect without asking for it. What separates them is discipline. Their emotions serve their power, not the other way around. They never react, they respond. They never seek permission, they assert reality. And in doing so, they gain something the weak can't even recognize: psychological dominance. But Machiavelli would warn even the dominator, too much power breeds resentment. Fear alone can rule a people, but not forever. The wisest leaders know when to soften their edge, when to show controlled humanity to remind others they lead, not destroy. Still, the dominator's essence remains: power without words, influence without effort, respect earned not by asking, but by existing. Because true strength isn't what's projected, it's what's felt in silence. Part 4. The Phantom of Detachment. If the dominator controls others through presence, the fourth Machiavellian personality rules through absence. This is the phantom. The phantom is dangerous because they cannot be controlled. They live by detachment. They are immune to emotional manipulation because they've cut the cords that bind most people: validation, guilt, and the need to belong. Machiavelli warned that dependence is a form of slavery. He who builds on the people builds on mud, he wrote, meaning that those who rely on others for power, approval, or stability will eventually sink. The phantom takes this lesson to its extreme. They build on nothing external. You can't blackmail a man who desires nothing. You can't control someone who doesn't crave your attention. The phantom's power is paradoxical. The less they seem to care, the more people are drawn to them. Mystery becomes magnetism. Silence becomes dominance. In the modern world, you see this archetype in the unbothered. The ones who walk away mid-argument, who disappear at the height of chaos, who don't post for attention because they understand invisibility is its own form of superiority. They know that constant presence breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds contempt. So they remain unpredictable, there, then gone. The phantom does not announce moves. They vanish, observe, and return only when the timing serves them. They do not crave being understood, they prefer being misread. Confusion, after all, is a form of control. But there's a price to this power: solitude. The phantom lives without deep connection. Their mastery of detachment can leave them untouchable, and sometimes painfully unseen. Yet even that isolation is armor. Because to them, vulnerability is a leash, and silence is freedom. Machiavelli would likely call them the ultimate survivor. Not the ruler who demands loyalty, but the ghost who commands it through absence. The one who proves that the most powerful statement is withdrawal. While others seek to be admired, the phantom seeks only to remain unbound. They are the calm eye within every storm, still, calculating, and untouchable. Because in the world of Machiavelli, the one who needs the least holds the most. Part 5. The Dance of Power. In every room, there's a silent choreography playing out, a hierarchy forming before a word is spoken. Machiavelli would call it the natural order of men, but in our world, it happens through tone, posture, timing. The charmer enters first. They draw people in with warmth, humor, and the illusion of openness. They appear harmless, someone who wants everyone to feel seen. But what they're really doing is reading the room. Every laugh, Every nod is a piece of data. They build comfort because comfort makes people careless. Across the room sits the strategist, the quiet observer who sees through the charmer's performance. They don't compete for attention, they wait. Strategists understand that influence is about leverage, not noise. They map the social web, who's loyal to whom, who craves approval, who holds resentment. While others talk, they calculate. Enter the predator. Not subtle, not polite. They disrupt the balance with confidence that borders on arrogance. Their presence changes the air. The charmer loses rhythm. The strategist recalculates. Predators thrive on disruption because it exposes weakness. They sense fear like heat and move toward it instinctively. In a modern setting, they're the executive who interrupts mid-sentence, the influencer who thrives on controversy, the person who can't stand being ignored. Their dominance is primitive but effective. Even those who despise them can't look away. Then there's the shadow, quiet, detached, unreadable. They're not competing for approval or power in the usual sense. Their strength comes from what they withhold. In a world addicted to validation, silence becomes a weapon. People project onto them admiration, curiosity, even fear. The shadow knows the power of being unknown. They don't chase attention, they create mystery, and mystery is magnetic. When these four types collide, chaos becomes structure. The charmer gains influence through connection, but depends on others' energy to sustain it. The strategist thrives when others are predictable, but unpredictability from a predator or shadow can throw them off balance. The predator feeds off the charmer's following and challenges the strategist's control. The shadow remains untouched, manipulating from the margins, seeing the game for what it is, theater. And that's what Machiavelli understood long before modern psychology gave it language. People are not rational actors. They are driven by fear of loss, need for recognition, and hunger for control. In every social system, from corporations to classrooms, these four energies keep reappearing in new disguises. One plays to the crowd, one plays the long game, one plays for blood, and one plays not to play at all. Confidence, influence, fear, and restraint, four currencies of the modern world. Together, they form a balance of chaos. And anyone who understands this dance can step into a room and see it. The invisible network of dominance beneath casual conversation. That's where real control begins. Part 6. The Modern Arena. Today, Machiavellian dynamics don't play out on battlefields. They unfold through screens, meetings, and algorithms. Power has gone digital, but psychology hasn't changed. The charmer uses social media to manufacture connection, the smile, the story, the authentic vulnerability. But behind every perfectly timed post is a deep understanding of how people crave belonging. They don't sell products, they sell identity. Their influence is subtle but far-reaching, not through dominance, but through imitation. People want to be them. The strategist hides behind professionalism, the quiet operator who understands systems. They play corporate chess, anticipating moves before others make them. In boardrooms or bureaucracies, they rarely raise their voice. They don't need to. They use information like currency and reputation like a weapon. Others call them cold, but they're not. They're disciplined. To a strategist, emotions are useful tools, not guiding forces. Their world is one of delayed gratification, the long con of success. Predators, in the modern sense, are those who've mastered boldness in a world that rewards timidity. They say what others won't, do what others fear, and cross lines most people never approach. They're CEOs who make ruthless cuts, influencers who stir chaos, and politicians who thrive on outrage. They understand a dark truth. Fear and fascination are twins. To be feared is to be remembered. And while the charmer gains allies, the predator gains control. But the shadow? They're the ghost in the machine, the ones who don't need the spotlight because they've already built the system it shines on. Hackers, anonymous founders, reclusive thinkers, they move unseen, shaping narratives others think they're creating. Their power is freedom. Freedom from exposure, from dependency, from ego. They understand that the less you reveal, the more people project. And projection is influence without effort. These four types coexist in a modern ecosystem that rewards psychological dominance, disguised as authenticity. Each feeds on the other. The charmer draws attention, the predator seizes it, the strategist directs it. and the shadow observes it all, untouched. Together, they sustain the illusion of progress. That power is earned through merit, not manipulation. But in truth, it's still a game of perception. Real dominance today isn't about shouting the loudest. It's about controlling emotional temperature. Who makes people react? Who decides what's normal? Who defines what's desirable? Those are the Machiavellians of the modern age, masters of human behavior hidden in plain sight. They don't need to conquer nations. They conquer attention, belief, and time. The wise observer learns from all four: the charmer's social fluidity, the strategist's foresight, the predator's courage, and the shadow's restraint. Together, they form a code: charm with intention, plan with precision, act with boldness, and disappear when the job is done. That's how you remain unpredictable in a world that wants to categorize you. That's how modern Machiavellians rise: invisible, effective, and untouchable. Part 7. The Fusion of Shadows. Every man begins as one of the four, but the rare few evolve to embody them all. That's when influence becomes indistinguishable from nature, not performance, but presence. Machiavelli's truest student doesn't imitate power. He becomes its silent gravity. The charmer learns the art of warmth without attachment. Their smile once hid intent. Now it's weaponized sincerity, real enough to disarm, controlled enough to never lose direction. They've learned that connection is leverage disguised as kindness. The strategist learns emotion. At first, they dismissed it as weakness. But through observing others, they see emotion as the fuel that drives every choice. They don't suppress it anymore. They direct it, like fire through iron. The predator learns restraint. Power once meant conquest, dominance, victory. But they felt the emptiness after the win, when fear turns to distance, and distance becomes isolation. So they refine their aggression into authority. Confidence without cruelty, power without chaos. And the shadow learns to step into the light. Their detachment was once protection, now it becomes choice. They re-emerge with the calm of someone who knows the game, but doesn't need to play it loudly. They understand that mystery is most effective when paired with motion, silence backed by proof. When these traits converge, something rare emerges. A man who commands without asking, influences without speaking, and intimidates without threat. He's unpredictable because he's whole. Each archetype within him counters the other's weaknesses. The charmer softens the predator's edge. The strategist guides the shadow's detachment. The predator fuels the charmer's drive. The shadow grounds them all in stillness. This synthesis creates what Machiavelli hinted at but never named: the fifth power, self-command. The ability to dominate one's impulses, reactions, and identity. Most people spend their lives reacting to the world. The Machiavellian mind acts on it. In the modern world, this mastery doesn't look dramatic. It looks composed. While others chase trends, argue online, or drown in validation loops, the self-commanded individual remains unaffected. They don't need attention, it finds them. They don't demand respect, people feel it. Because real dominance today isn't external. It's psychological insulation, the ability to walk through manipulation, chaos, and temptation without being touched. It's not a rejection of emotion or empathy, it's sovereignty over them. And that's the irony. Machiavelli's darkness wasn't about cruelty. It was about clarity. The courage to see the world as it is, unfiltered by morality, ego, or illusion, and to act strategically within it. To others, that feels dangerous. But to the one who's mastered it, it feels like peace. Part 8. The final lesson: controlled chaos. Machiavelli once wrote that fortune favors the bold, but he also knew boldness without calculation leads to ruin. The complete Machiavellian mind balances both: passion and poise, instinct and intellect, chaos and control. In modern life, this looks like quiet dominance. You don't argue, you redirect. You don't expose intent, you plant ideas. You don't chase status, you shape perception. Each move is deliberate, invisible. You let others believe they're choosing, but every path leads back to you. This is the essence of controlled chaos. To outsiders, it seems you thrive in uncertainty, but internally, it's precision. You've learned to treat unpredictability as a tool. When you act unpredictable, people watch closely. When they watch closely, they reveal themselves. In that silence, you win before they move. The charmer, strategist, predator and shadow still exist within, but now they work in harmony. The charmer connects. The strategist plans. The predator executes. The shadow observes. For instincts operating under one command, a human algorithm designed for adaptability. In business, this manifests as quiet authority, the one whose presence alters the dynamic of a meeting without speaking first. In relationships, it's emotional control, the power to care deeply yet never lose center. Online, it's presence without overexposure, mystery in an age of oversharing. But the most profound form of power isn't what others see. It's what you withhold. Your silence becomes signal. Your calm becomes warning. Your unpredictability becomes legend. Machiavelli didn't teach cruelty. He taught comprehension, to study human behavior with surgical precision and act without delusion. He believed the greatest leaders were not those who destroyed others, but those who could manipulate chaos without losing themselves to it. That's where this journey ends, not in domination, but in understanding. Real confidence isn't loud, it's contained. Real influence isn't forced, it's gravitational. Real danger isn't external, it's the mind that cannot be moved. When you reach this point, you no longer chase control, you are control. You've transcended the need for validation, fear, and reaction. You've become the silent authority that Machiavelli revered, not the tyrant, but the tactician. So when you walk into a room, people won't know why they feel it, only that something has shifted. The noise quiets, the attention turns, and the unspoken truth hangs in the air. You've mastered the chaos within, and now the world bends subtly around you. That's not darkness. That's discipline. And that's Machiavellian mastery.